Hello and welcome to the Connection podcast series. I am delighted to welcome Massimiliano Bianchi, who's the President and Managing Director of Fosber. He's also joined by Tim Straker, one of the Global Sales Directors for Fosber. So gentlemen, welcome. Max, if I can come to you first, wonderful to have you with us. Max, before we start talking about this great new development that we've seen being plastered all over social media, let's start with a little update as to how you found the last 12 months during lockdown. How has Fosber Group fared during the last 12 months?
First of all, Dan, thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And with all the changes in the last year and a half now, because of the pandemic, this new way of communication is really the only way we have, but it's really working very, very well. And as I said, talking to you is always a pleasure. And the last 12 months has been great, fantastic. Obviously, please, I'm talking about only from a business point of view. Okay, I don't want to sound disrespectful for the people that have had problems because of the pandemic. This is a business interview, so it goes without saying that I'm very close to all the people that have had problems. Luckily, in the Fosber Group, we haven't had any serious problems. Few people got the virus, but virtually none have had serious problems. So from the business point of view, it's been great. As I said, I would say one of the best year ever for the industry and for us. As you know, all the big groups have registered records in volume and profit. The pandemic has really helped our industry. And as a side effect, Fosber has had a new record in 2020 and 2021. We are aiming for a new record. So it has been absolutely fantastic.
And Max, one of the interesting things that I noticed was obviously a change in the way that you're able to work with local engineers starting up machines. I saw a great release just recently. You started up a brand new machine in Guatemala. So showing that the global pandemic hasn't actually stopped you from getting machines installed to some really interesting places all around the world.
Then, as I said, from a business point of view, the pandemic was the best thing ever happened to us. I thought we were a quite efficient company based on the number of the growth, the income, etc., etc. But the opportunity we have had because of the pandemic, the restriction, traveling, everything which was we took for granted 2 years ago became almost impossible to be managed in the old way. The way we have found to manage to run the business internally and externally are so much better for us and for the final customer. So we managed to install all our machinery all over the world with a minimum crew, but thanks to the support, the remote support from Fosber, we set up what we call installation rooms. We have a lot of technicians, R&D people, the technical department were 24/7 available for our people on site. So the quality of the installation was improved, the time of installation was reduced, and that was a benefit for both us and the customer, of course.
So, Max, let's now focus on the whole reason why we're meeting today. The social media from your company has been absolutely electric the last week or so. The smart belt. So I can assume a belted single facer. So tell us a little bit about this new project.
The project was born actually because you know that 40% of the turnover of Fosber comes from the United States. Okay, we are over there undeniably the number one, and we have a great organization. We want today almost 150 employees working there in Green Bay, Wisconsin. The market over there basically start requiring a belt single facer because of the new requests from customers, the way they want to print, etc. was more 90% of the reason why we designed the belt single facer is because of the United States market. Obviously, that machine is available also for us. For us, I mean, for the customer outside the United States. But more than about the machinery, what I wanted to tell you, it's a very short message, which was, it's really the key of everything. You know that a few years ago, designing and installing a belt single facer would have been something very difficult, something that would have required a lot of energy. And we were not 100% convinced ourselves that we would have come up with a good machine. Few years after, we installed the machinery with zero problem, with nothing to be worried about it, and it was more simpler than we expected. But honestly, it's not the machinery that was simpler than we expected. It's that the organization of Fosber, the quality of the R&D, the quality of our production, the experience we have matured in since the first installation in 2003, made this experience only a pleasant experience. And we were surprised ourselves how simple it was. But honestly, underneath the result of the installation, there is a company that today it is not even close or resemble what we used to be a few years ago. That was really amazing for me.
Tim, welcome. Thank you for joining us. The Smart Belt, a new belted single facer, massive development from Fosber. Tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, morning, Dan. Very exciting news for us. We've just installed and started up our first belt single facer. We're absolutely excited about it. And as we said, the smart belt era is born. It's a little bit of history about why we've come with a belt single facer. Basically, we had two big driving forces, one in North America, one in Europe. It's obviously we have to give our customers what they ask for, and it's quite interesting. In North America, there was a huge request to have board, which is basically you couldn't tell whether it's made, you know, where you're printing, whether it's coming off the bottom liner or the top liner, and they wanted totally, let's say, invisible board without any press marks whatsoever, and the ability to print on the top and the bottom or both. And in Europe, interestingly, it was a little bit different. Some of the major groups were basically telling us that they were convinced that with a belt single facer, you can produce board with lighter papers, which is stronger. And so with this twofold customer request, we decided we had to have a belt single facer. And for us, it's almost like the last piece of the jigsaw of what we can offer our customers. You know, in Europe, papers are getting lighter. The demand for high graphic printing, digital print, digital preprint, and it was also another important development for the Quantum project as well, because Quantum is specializing in extremely light papers. We're going down to 40 gram papers there. That the belt single facer also has a nice little hook into that niche market as well. So it kind of rounds off our complete product range, and we're absolutely delighted with it.
And Tim, very interesting, because you were talking there about the, particularly in the North American market, the development of inside-outside printing. Obviously, it's not just for North America. There's a lot of action taking place in Europe as well. We've seen an awful lot of the latest generation rotary die cutters and case makers being able to print inside and outside. But if we look specifically at the North American market, this inside-outside printing phenomenon, it would imply that it's only just arrived. But of course, development of a brand new single face for a new technology, that's 2 to 3 years in the build. So was it a case of you'd already started to see the developments of inside out, or was this genuinely a project that had started driven by customers more than you guys?
Definitely driven by customers. Yes, you're right. 2 to 3 years ago, we made the decision that we had to, and we wanted to do this. And I mean, we've been running preprint, conventional preprint on the top liners with certain customers anyway. And you can do that with heavier papers, but in conjunction, the drive to be able to print on both sides at the same time, the grammage is coming down. We knew that we had to come out with this machine.
And Tim, obviously your product range is quite clearly divided into the S line, your top of the range, and then obviously the C line, which is the mid level. Is the Smart Belt available for both of those lines?
Yeah, because the single face is a standalone machine, so it could fit into both machines. Obviously, the Smart Belt comes in 2 main versions, one for 370 meters a minute, one for 420 meters a minute, and most probably even faster than that as well, because we also got a big push in the States for 1,500 feet per minute, which I think is 460 meters a minute. So it's predominantly what we would think would be an S-line machine, but there's nothing to stop anyone putting the Smart Belt into a C-line. Absolutely no problem.
And Tim, obviously, one of the interesting potentials for this new belted single facer is on a double wall machine. Are you able to run a traditional beltless with then the new belted?
We see this will be a big part of the market. You know, the one disadvantage of belt machines is the running cost. You have to replace the belt 2, 3, 4 times a year, depending on your production, and over many years that adds up as a significant cost. And we do see, and customers are telling us that they absolutely envisage having one belt single facer and one standard, what we call the extended nip version, and with cassettes being interchangeable. So absolutely, we do see that as a huge advantage.
And Tim, talk to us a little bit more about the cassettes, because obviously that's going to be quite an important consideration, isn't it, for existing Fosber users? Particularly if you were to retrofit this to, say, a 1-year-old machine or a 2-year-old machine. Talk to us about the technology in terms of the cassettes for the corrugating rolls.
Corrugating rolls will be interchangeable, absolutely. The cassettes slightly different, but we would have to, look at that a little bit in more detail. But we do see that let's say on a brand new line, the cassettes would be totally interchangeable between a belt single facer and a non-belt. We do know that the corrugating rolls, though, because we've used the same corrugating roll technology that we have on our existing machine. And we've also come out, which does make it a bit more complicated, is from the C-line single facer, the edge single facer, we developed, and we're really happy with, what we call a negative pressure system, which is not your conventional positive pressure. This has, again, huge technical advantages. And this is what we've implemented on the new Smart Belt. So that's where things are a little bit different. The great thing about the negative pressure is that we have an extremely clean and simple and almost maintenance-free system to hold the fluting onto the corrugating roll without the need for lots of seals and having a highly pressurized glue unit with all the turbulence and mess that can produce.
And Tim, have you had to make any developments in the starch application, the glue machine? Because obviously that's again an important consideration, isn't it, when you're talking about the messy aspect of applying glue?
Yes, well, what we've learned from the negative pressure system on the edge single facer has all been brought in. And the other thing that we've done is, we've been working a lot with the Kohler water deck system. We've brought that into the machine, that's integrated into the machine. And that really helps with heat transfer. It really helps with conditioning the board without drying it. And it means we can apply less glue, less energy, run the machine cooler and more efficiently. So that's also a really exciting feature on the new smart belt.
Yeah, because I think you touched on it there, the cooler corrugated concept. I mean, it's something that the industry has been talking about for many, many years. And of course, Kohler really were one of the leading sort of lights when it comes to producing the cooler corrugator. And I guess, when we're running lighter weight papers, we want as little moisture in the board as possible, right?
Correct, and you want it even. You want it as little and even, and that's the beauty of the water deck system with this literally micron thick membrane of water. It's not just applied with conventional starch. You're applying moisture only at the flute tips. Here, you're literally applying it evenly right across the full width of the paper. That as it goes over heat, that flashes and moisturizes very evenly the board and conditions it. And so it's a really exciting technology and it makes things, it gets rid of washboarding, gets rid of warp. It's a really nice feature, not only for lightweights, but also when the machine slows down, speeds up, it takes away all the issues you have there about having to open up glue gaps, apply more moisture. Everything's constant, which is the beauty of it.
And Tim, what about, are there any restrictions in the width? So is it a case of saying, this is better on a 2.5 meter machine, or is it perfectly applicable across 2.5 and 2.8?
Yep, absolutely. And 1.8 as well. Bear in mind that we have the quantum. So this machine is going to be available 1.8, 2.5, 2.8, and exactly the same philosophy and applications apply to all three widths.
And Tim, you mentioned the first machine is in and running. I believe it's at a customer not too far from you guys in Lucca. What's the take up and the interest been? Because obviously you've got your very close and trusted customers that you've obviously been talking to them about this for the last year or so. What's the market reaction to it?
Oh, huge excitement. I mean, everybody wants to come and see it. Yeah. And we have to thank a lot of our, like I say, our close customers, because, they've helped us. They've wanted us to come out with this kind of machine. So they've helped us with, what they've learned from their own experiences, their own advice, their own ideas. And, we're hugely grateful for them for all the input that they've given us to help us develop that. And we installed the first one last month, just a few weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, like you said, at a company very close to us in Lucca. So, obviously it's important. And, there was huge anticipation also on our side in Fosber, of course, massive interest when you make a prototype machine like that. And the fact that, that it's gone in and it's running well. And, we've already had it running over 400 meters a minute. And it's almost funny in a way when you see our R&D team, with all when they come back and they said, well, is that all there is to it? They just can't believe it's just amazing.
And Tim, I guess it's possibly too early to actually delve into it in terms of have the customers or the customer who's running this for the last few weeks. I mean, have they seen a noticeable enhancement or improvement in the board quality? And, you know, what impact has that had downstream in terms of the converting department, printability? Is there any feedback at this stage?
Their feedback is that they now need to actually put in a much better glue unit, the conventional glue unit, because the board coming off the single facer, the quality is so much better than what they're actually getting off on the bottom line or on their conventional system. So we're actually going to be installing a new glue unit there quite quickly, because everything's gone upside down in the plant now. Everything that they're producing off that single facer is so much better than what they're conventionally producing off on the bottom liner. So yeah, they're really delighted.
And Tim, you mentioned earlier about the Quantum. Obviously, that's the previous Agnati that became part of the Fosber Group last year. But obviously, you said that the development, you're looking at 2 to 3 years. Well, that was prior to the acquisition of Quantum. Obviously, they have specialized in these very specialist corrugators for direct printing, for digital printing, etc. What sort of interaction did you have with the Quantum R&D team through the later stages of the development of the new belt?
That's been one of the beauties of the acquisition and bringing in the ex-Agnati guys into the Fosber Group, because the wealth and the depth of technical skills and know-how, it's just been fantastic. I mean, we really are integrating so well now. A lot of Fosber people are working up there, and the spread and the sharing of knowledge has been fantastic. No, that's been a really good result from this merger of the two companies. It's been really exciting, that as well.
Earlier in the interview, you were talking about the changes within the company, and obviously, as Tim was just explaining just now, the integration of the R&D team from the previous Agnati into Quantum, then becoming part of the Fosber Group has obviously benefited this whole smart belt project. Give us finally just a little update on how things are going at Quantum up in Milan.
Then I don't. Sometimes people say that I'm very optimistic, but I couldn't be different. You know, the way we work today in Fosber, it's so efficient, and we still have the approach of the family. So we haven't conquered the company. We have integrated the company Tirunia and Quantum inside our family. We have zero competition internally, and we have only one simple common goal, which is to please our customers. That's it. So the integration with Quantum followed this simple philosophy, and it went extremely smooth. Why? Because we found very good people, which were actually they needed to go for a change, and they really welcomed us, and we have welcomed them as part of the family. So working together was extremely easy. Okay, and their knowledge of the Quantum, their knowledge of a market which is slightly different from ours, was really integrated and compensated with ours. So we actually come up with a new Quantum and many other things which are absolutely better and very efficient, and I'm quite sure that there will be a key of the future growth of the company. Then I would like to finish this interview by delivering a final message. I want to say that today Fosber Group is one of the most complete in terms of product range, also because of the belt single facer, of course, and this is for the pure corrugated business. But as you know, thanks to the integration with Quantum, now we are looking for different markets. We are supplying laminators, we are supplying open flutes, and we have re-engineerized the Quantum by using the best machinery of Fosber and the best machinery of the former Agnati. So honestly, the future for us looks brighter, not only because we have improved, but also because we have changed our structure, organization, and product range. So I'm very, very optimistic for the future of Fosber Group. And I hope in the next interview with you, maybe in a few months' time, I can tell you that what I'm telling you now was absolutely a spoiler more than a prediction.
Wonderful. Thank you very much indeed, Max. Wish you all the best with the new Smart Belt single phaser project. And I look forward to joining you in real life, I hope, in due course.